Hello there and a very good evening. Welcome to Primetime News here on News First. Today is the 9th of October 2023. For the News First team, I am Jayama Ratnayaka.
And I am Naveksha Gunasekara. We start off by taking a look at your headlines for tonight.
Decision made to modify a portion of the salinity barrier on the Nilvala River to control flooding. MP Dhammika Pereira says he is ready to contest the presidential election if political parties support him to obtain 51% of the vote. No final decision yet on presidential candidate, says SLPP secretary. Cannot postpone elections. People should be allowed to exercise their franchise. Opposition and SLPP on a similar stance. Any singular reference to the cardinal undermines the collegiality of the conference. Catholic Bishops' Conference tells President. 2 Sri Lankans in Israel missing, another injured.
In a top story for tonight, the Department of Meteorology stated that over 75 millimeters of rain is expected in the north, north central and eastern provinces and also in several regions of the Mathura district.
The Met Department stated that precautions should be taken to minimize the damages that could be caused by thunder showers, temporary strong winds and lightning strikes. Meanwhile, the National Building Research Organization says that the landslide red notice issued to Galle, Mathura and Kaluthara districts are still in force. Accordingly, the landslide red notice is in effect for Galle, for Gravets, Alpitiya, Imaduwa, Nagoda and Yakkamulla in the Galle district, Akuressa, Pitabaddara and Hakmana in the Mathura district and Mathugama, Ingiriya and Valallavita in the Kaluthara district. Landslide warnings were also issued for divisional secretariats of Badulla, Columbo, Gampaha, Hambantota, Galle and Ratnapura districts under phase 1 and 2.
People in several areas of the Mathura district are suffering from the floods that have lasted for almost a month. Now, despite the lack of rain, these people are in dire straits due to the water levels not receding.
This was the situation in Mathura, Akuressa, Malimbada, Katuyangoda and other areas in the vicinity this morning. As of this morning, the value of Talahagoda water gauge stood at 2.9 and it still remains at flood level.
මේ මෙතන ඉඳලා කිලෝමීටර් 3ක් විතර අපි යන්න ඕන මේ ඔරුවෙන් අපි ගමනය කරන්නේ. දැන් මෙතන කවුරුත් එන්නේ මේ ගල්බන්ට එක ගාව ස්පීඩ් කරන එක බලන්න විතරයි. නමුත් ගම්මානම යට වෙලා දැන් මාසෙකට වැඩි කාලයක් තිස්සේ ගම්මාන යට වෙලා තියෙනවා. ගම්මාන මිනිස්සු මේ පවුල් 200 250ක් විතර යට වෙලා තියෙනවා.
අපි බලධාරීන්ගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ හැකි ඉක්මනින් මේකට විසඳුමක් ලබා දෙන්න. මේ වතුරේ ජීවත් වෙන ජනතාව දැන් සුමාන දෙකකට වැඩි කාලයක් මේ වතුරේ ජීවත් වෙනවා.
Our correspondent stated that the water in the area above the flood protection bund in Mathura Attudava was gradually receding, but the water in the lower areas had risen. This was the situation in Valpola, Mathura this afternoon. According to area residents, the water level has been rising since last night. Many roads in the area still remain inundated. A similar situation to Valpola was seen in the Nadugala area in Mathura as well.
වතුර දාලා දවස් 10කටත් වැඩි. දවස් 10 දුක් විඳින මේ වතුර බහින්නෙත් නෑ.
මේ ඉන්න මිනිසුන්ට කන්න බොන්න නෑ. යන්න එන්න තැනක් නෑ. ඉස්කෝලේට ගියන් එහෙ ඉඩක් නෑ. මේ වතුර වැඩි වෙනවා අඩු වෙනවා.
2017 ගම් වතුර මීට වැඩිය ගැලුවා හැබැයි. ඒක තමයි 15 තියෙන බිත්තිවල. ඒ ගම් වතුර දවස් 5න් විතර වගේ ඉක්මනට බැස්සා. දැන් මෙතන ගලලා දවස් 10ක් වෙනවා. ගලන්න පටන් ගන්න දවස් 10ක් වෙනවා. දැන් උච්චම අවස්ථාවට ඇවිල්ලා 5ක් විතර වෙනවා. තාම ගලනවා. බහින විදියක් නම් පේන්නේ නෑ.
What is happening in Mathura? The Nilvala River, which starts from Gongala, flows for about 80 kilometers and joins the sea at the Mathura port. 2 main problems have been identified due to the location of the river. It is the mixing of river water and flood water with seawater. The location of the riverbed below the sea level has been the main reason that has affected both these problems. From Gongala to Akurassa, the Nilwala river runs on a steep slope until it joins the sea at or below sea level. Due to this, river water was not a new experience for the Nilwala Valley, and various solutions were proposed since the colonial period. A three-phase plan was implemented in 1989 as a successful proposal. According to that plan, protective embankments were built in the river and 3 pumping stations were also constructed at Tudava, Magallagoda and Attudava to pump the overflowing water. The Attudava brick wall, which has received a lot of attention in recent days, was also constructed according to the same project. This embankment has also been constructed so that the water from the river flows out and the overflown water has been diverted to the Kirala-Kale area. The problem in recent days was the suspicion that the destabilization of this embankment could damage it. The Department of Irrigation stated that this embankment has faced 2 floods and its stability has not been affected. In addition to pumping stations and protective embankments, an essential component of this project, which was proposed in 1989, has not yet been implemented. That is, the plan to build several reservoirs to collect water. It was planned to direct the water to these reservoirs and collect it before the water overflows from the protective embankments below. But due to the fact that it has not been implemented so far, the protective embankments have not been able to do much work in the event of a flood, and if the water level rises significantly, the pumping station has to be disabled. What is this barrier? The bottom of the Nilwala river below Akurassa is at or below sea level, so the water constantly entering the river is mixed. Mixing the water with the river has a severe impact on the drinking water supply as well as agricultural lands. Because of this, a barrier has been constructed between Matara, Hungangoda and Piladuva to prevent it. But the main problem that has arisen now is that this barrier has also become an obstacle to the draining of water. The Department of Irrigation has admitted that there may be a delay in the flow of river water due to the construction of the salinity barrier, but they point out that if the barrier is removed, there will be a drinking water problem again, as well as a crisis of mixing the intake water to the farmlands. The Department of Irrigation is of the opinion that even if the option of preparing a side canal and draining the water as soon as it recedes is considered, it is not a successful solution. If so, what is the solution? A discussion on this issue was held again today at the Ministry of Water Supply. There, as a short-term solution, it has been decided to change part of the construction of the existing salinity barrier, and it has also been decided to remove the obstructions of the side canals. As the flow of water continued from the upper catchments to the lower catchments of the King River, the water gauge read as 4.9 meters as at 4 p.m. today. Traffic in Todangoda, Agaliya, Nagoda and the old Hikkaduwa road in the Baddegama region was disrupted. The lower catchments and by-roads of Valivitiya, Divitura and Baddegama district secretariats, which are on either side of the Ging River, are still underwater. This is the situation in the lower catchment and roads of Nabra Atta at Kandura. The Dodangoda region was inundated as water continued to flow from the upper catchment. The lower catchments and cultivations on either side of the Ging River in the Wakwala region are still underwater. 3 sluice gates were opened in the Polgola Dam as the water levels rose due to heavy showers. The engineer in charge stated 8,640 cubic feet of water is being released per second to the lower Victoria Dam.
Moving on to more local news, Member of Parliament Dhammika Perera says that he is ready to contest in the next presidential election if the political parties guarantee that he will receive 51% of votes.
In an inquiry made by News First, Member of Parliament Dhammika Perera says that he will need a guarantee from the political parties, including SLPP, that he will receive 51% of the votes in the next presidential election. Dhammika Perera has now founded a program called DP Education, and 1.1 million out of the 5.5 million families of the country are benefiting from this program. About 1.5 million children are currently enrolled in the DP Education program. The DP Education program, run by Dhammika Perera and the Priscilla Perera Foundation, was honoured by the Bet Asia Awards held in Bangkok, Thailand last week. This award is presented to institutions that break new ground in the field of education using modern technology. The annual Bet Asia Award ceremony is held to identify institutions that revolutionize the field of education in the Asia-Pacific region. Strong contenders such as Singapore, India, Thailand, Malaysia, Japan and China participate in this ceremony. This is the response of the SLPP General Secretary regarding the statement made by MP Dhammika Perera regarding contesting the presidential election. Now, he made these remarks while attending a press conference held at the SLPP party headquarters.
ධම්මික පෙරේරා නම් අත්නේක ප්‍රකාශක සම්බන්ධව ජනාධිපතිවරණය සඳහා ඉදිරිපත් කරන ආයතන කියන අදහසක් පළ වුණා කියන කතාව. පක්ෂයේ මතය මොකද්ද? ඔහු ප්‍රතිජන පෙරමුණේ සාමාජිකයෙක් නෙමෙයි.
He is a member of the SLPP. As a party, we are happy about it.
ඔබතුමාලගේ පක්ෂ නායකයා ඉන්නවා. ඒ කට්ටිය මොකද මූලික එකඟතාවයක් නැත්නම් ඔය වගේ ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
He had never declared that he was acting outside the party's opinion. He had stated that he would like to run in the presidential election. So that is the wish of many politicians in this country. That and the party's process are not the same. But it is a citizen's right in a democratic country. So it seems to me that we are a party that respects that right. So we have not expressed any opinion against it. We appreciate Dhammika Perera's role in our party. Also, it must be said that our party has not made any decision regarding the upcoming presidential election, because the next presidential election will be held at least 1 year later. We have seen that some parties have nominated candidates for the presidential election, that is 1 year from now. Those candidates who have a problem with defending their candidacy have hurriedly issued statements in this regard, but our party does not do so. As a party, we present the most suitable candidate for this country at the right time. We must say one thing, that we are presenting a candidate who can win the next presidential election. That is the only thing we as a party can say for sure regarding the elections.
Journalists questioned Sagar Karivazam as to whether there will be an attempt to not hold elections.
I do not agree with that, because according to the constitution of the country, the elected president has a certain period to hold office. If the elected president has resigned, he is responsible for his remaining period in office. It is the same with the parliament. The parliament also has a certain tenure. They do not hold power once they exceed that period. As a party, we constantly stood up for the people's right to vote. The people should be given the right to choose who their next leader is going to be. No one has the power to take over that right. We as a party stand for proper elections.
මැතිවරණ පැවැත්වීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් පෙනී සිටියි.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඔබතුමාට ඍජුව ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න පුළුවන්ද ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ හෝ කාල සීමාව ඉවර නම් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ව්‍යවස්ථානුකූලව ජනාධිපතිවරණයකට යා යුතුයි කියන එක.
අනිවාර්යෙන් ජනාධිපති
There should definitely be a presidential election. If not, the country's situation will worsen.
ඒ යටතේ රට අරාජික තත්ත්වයකට පත් කිරීම.
Issuing a press release, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that the government, which has already postponed elections, is preparing to postpone the elections set to be held next year as well. The opposition leader points out that the proposed changes to the electoral system is not as convincing as they seem. He advises the public to not be misguided by it. The opposition leader states that postponing or not holding the elections is a serious violation of democracy. The leader of the opposition emphasizes that although it is a dream to expect an election from a government with a president who has destroyed the people's sovereignty with mockery, insults and humiliation, he is ready to take all possible measures against it.
Professor G.L. Pires points out that the presidential election should be held before September of next year.
The government of this country has a very bad record when it comes to conducting elections. Given by the Supreme Court on a majority vote, they refused it. The government is afraid of the election. They know that once the election is held, they will lose. That is why they are not conducting elections. I am saying that their efforts cannot be used for the election. They do not comply with the rules of our country. Therefore, the government will have to hold the presidential election before next September. We make it clear that the opposition will stand for the voting rights of the people of this country. Then the parliament must be dissolved. The parliament does not represent the public opinion. Then this parliament has no mandate at all.
Chief Incumbent of the Mihintale Rachamaha Viharaya, Venerable Dr. Valava Henguna Veve Dhammaratana Thero and Venerable Pahyangala Ananda Sagara Thero visited the Most Venerable Makuluai Vimala Thero of the Sri Lanka Ramana Nikaya today. This was done to receive blessings for presenting a new program to the country.
They ask for loans to bring in oil, burn it and then ask for more loans. If they request anything more, we hand them a land in Trincomalee, the oil tanks and the state institutions. If we go on like this, a country will not be left for us. In a situation like this, every day is full of lying and misguiding. We are always dependent on the people of this country. The people donate to us. The presidential election will be held in the coming year. If we all get together, we can stop the same politicians of the same parties coming into positions of power. The 225 in power do not have the right to ask for power in parliament.
With the people.
Issuing a press release, the Catholic Bishops' Conference in Sri Lanka said the Cardinal, being the Archbishop of Colombo, is an integral and most vital member of the Catholic Bishops' Conference in Sri Lanka. This statement was made in response to the President's statement made in his interview with Deutsche Welle News or DW on his dealing with the Catholic Church were with the Bishops' Conference of Sri Lanka and not with the Cardinal.
The Catholic Bishops' Conference in Sri Lanka say any reference to the Cardinal by the President in a singular manner undermines the collegiality of the Catholic Bishops' Conference. In the statement, the Catholic Bishops' Conference thanked the President for handing over all the volumes of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry report into the Easter Sunday bomb attacks to the Bishops' Conference. Catholic Bishops' Conference in Sri Lanka says the fact that the FBI, the British Police, the Australian, the Indian, the Chinese and the Pakistani Secret Services on having given reports concerning the attack has been brought to the attention of the general public as well as the Bishops' Conference for the first time. It requests the President to share the copies of the said reports.
A group of lawyers protested near the Halfstrop Court complex in Colombo this morning, demanding a fair investigation into the events that led to the resignation of Mullatiu Magistrate T. Sarvanaraja.
The lawyers engaged in a march demanding to stop undue influence on the judiciary. Our reporter said that the group then protested for about an hour.
If a judge cannot work freely, if he is pressured, if he is threatened, if his decision is changed, then we have no freedom in this country. If orders are given from above to change the judgments, the responsibility of stopping them is on the side of this legal community. We would like to remind you that it was a day that when the black cloaks of the north and the black cloaks of the south came together and raised their voice for justice. We all have a fight to win. There is a battle to win democracy. We have to fight that fight together. You have laid your hands on democracy. You have laid your hands on the rule of law in this country. The constitution of this country has been tampered with. That is why, in order to protect this, today the north and the south came together like the children of one mother, and we will fight tomorrow for justice. At this time it is confirmed that we will fight against it. We are telling the government, telling the Judicial Service Commission that this situation should be changed. After making an inquiry about this, justice should be done to that judge. This would be the case where we create history.
Meanwhile, another group of lawyers visited the protest site and expressed their opposition to the protest.
As lawyers, we should act intelligently. Law is the same for everyone. The law should be fair to all. Everyone should be able to listen. As lawyers, we cannot be biased. We don't care about politics. Legally speaking, this judge has given a wrong decision. After that, because he was unable to stay there, he escaped and flew overseas. We have strong doubts about the actions of the judge in this case, but there was no threat at that time.
A silent protest was held opposite the Negombo High Court complex today under the theme "Do Not Influence the Judiciary. We condemn the threats against the Bulletin magistrate." The protest was organized by the Negombo Citizens Association.
This is not the first time. This is happening continuously and this is devastating. If the judges are afraid of politics and hesitate to make decisions, the people have no justice. That is why we are saying today that the politicians' power to influence the independence of the judiciary must be taken over by the government. The thugs of the MP who influenced the Mulativ judge should be brought to justice.
The police obstructed a protest march which commenced from Kalutara today, demanding the withdrawal of the anti-terrorism bill and the online safety law.
A group of members of the Kalutara People's Council launched this protest from the Kalutara North Nagas Junction area. Even then, there was a heavy police presence in the area, and when the police informed the protesters that they could not be allowed to march, a conversational situation arose.
Can't we just walk on the road? This is a joke. Do not break the country's law. If a child is crying in hunger, this government would advise to beat that child as well. There are no medicine at hospitals. Why are they doing this? It is our money. We don't have the means to eat or drink. What are you doing with our money?
Later, as the group approached the Molligoda College, another conversation arose between the police officers and protesters. Our correspondent said that the movement of vehicles was also disrupted along the Gaul Road, and protesters also distributed pamphlets around the area. Later, the group arrived at Wadua, where an individual was arrested by the police. A committee member of the Kalutara People's Council has been arrested under criminal coercion and road blocking, causing public distress. Our correspondent said that the arrested individual was released on bail after being produced before the Panadura Magistrates Court today. The group also took steps to end the protest in Wadua.
In more headline-making news, veteran artist Jackson Anthony, who was being treated at the National Hospital in Colombo after a motor accident, passed away earlier today.
Anthony was proficient in many fields, including linguistics, literature, history, and the performing arts. He was also an experienced communicator. The final rites on Jackson Anthony's mortal remains will be conducted on Thursday.
Veteran actor Jackson Anthony met with a motor accident on the 2nd of July last year while returning from a movie shoot and was receiving treatment at the ICU of the National Hospital in Colombo for over a year. The remains of the late Jackson Anthony will be placed at a private funeral home in Borella from 7:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. tomorrow for the public to pay their final respects. On Wednesday, the body will be moved to Jackson Anthony's home in Kadawatha, and the final rites will be conducted on Thursday evening at the Roman Catholic Church in Ragama. Jackson Anthony, a versatile character who touched many hearts with his multitude of talents, was 65 years old at the time of his demise.
Siku susum
Jackson Anthony was a multi-talented artist with expertise in acting, directing, producing, singing, songwriting and writing. He was born on the 8th of July 1958 in the village of Ragama Podivikura. He received his education at the Hapugoda Junior College, Bandarawela St. Mary's and Galahitiava Madhya Mahavidyalaya. He earned an honours degree in Sinhala language from the University of Colombo and a master's degree in journalism from the University of Sri Jayawardenepura. Jackson Anthony's career spanned across theatre, television and film. He made a significant impact on the stage, performing in various plays and contributing to the theatre with his talent. Some of his notable theatre productions include Varuwen Yana Minissu and Manavayo, among others. He transitioned from the stage to television, where he became a beloved figure through roles in TV dramas such as Alla Langa Walawwa, Kadulla, Akala Sandhya, Pitagamkaryo and many more. In the world of cinema, Jackson Anthony made his debut in 1993 and acted in several films, include Visidala, Lokuduwa, Bavaduka, Bavakarma, Suryarana, Gini Avisaha Ginikeli, Asvasuma, Agnidahaya, Guerrilla Marketing and Dharma Yuddha. He received the Best Actor Award an impressive 16 times during his career. Jackson Anthony also made his mark as a film director, introducing historical narratives to Sri Lankan cinema. His films such as Juliet's Role, Paradisa, Abba and Address Ne contributed significantly to the world of Sinhala cinema. His final contribution to the silver screen of Sri Lanka was the movie Ekage Sokari. Jackson Anthony, the musician, won the affection of many fans from all walks of life with a range of songs and compositions. In addition to his contributions to the arts, Jackson Anthony was also known for his innovations and fresh perspectives in the field. Jackson Anthony leaves behind his loving wife, actress and singer Kumari Munasinghe, and their children Sajita Anuttara, Akhila Danuttara and Madhavi Vatsala. His passing leaves a void in the world of art, but his legacy lives on through the artists he inspired and the contributions he made to Sri Lankan culture. Jackson Anthony was a man who entertained the masses with his immaculate talent and unique skill of acting, and he will go down in the annals of Sri Lankan history as a legend in his own right.
Sri Lanka's ambassador to Israel, Nimal Bandara, says that 2 Sri Lankans who were working in Israel are missing and another has been wounded.
Ambassador to Israel stated that a Sri Lankan who was shot and wounded near the Gaza Strip, 38-year-old Sujit Priyankara from Kakirava, has been hospitalized. The ambassador stated that 2 other Sri Lankans are missing, namely 48-year-old Sujit Bandara of Venapur and 49-year-old Anula Ratnayaka of Kadawatha. The Israel Army spokesperson said, quote, "This is our 9/11 and more," in quote, adding Hamas wanted an annihilation of our state. He added they went for civilians, grandmothers and babies. The Israeli military on Monday said it struck hundreds of Hamas and Islamic Jihad targets and had sent 4 combat divisions south where it continued to battle the Islamist militants. The death toll from the fighting stands at 1,100. In remarks quoted by the Israeli media, Army spokesperson Daniel Hagari said incidents of clashes between troops and fighters have been isolated in the last few hours. Fighting between Israeli forces and Islamist group Hamas was ongoing at 7 or 8 locations near Gaza, 2 days after Hamas gunmen killed 700 Israelis and abducted dozens more in the deadliest raid into Israeli territory since Egypt and Syria's attacks in the Yom Kippur War 50 years ago. Israeli military said Hamas fighters also continue to cross into Israel from Gaza. Israeli fighter jets, helicopters and artillery struck over 500 Hamas and Islamic Jihad targets in Gaza overnight. The Palestinian Health Ministry said more than 400 people, including scores of children, had been killed in the attacks since Saturday, which it said also hit housing blocks and a mosque. Israeli media outlets said earlier that Israel decided to stop the supply of electricity, fuel and goods to the Gaza Strip after Hamas launched a surprise and rare operation against it on Saturday, which included a firing of thousands of rockets and the infiltration of dozens of militants into the towns bordering Gaza.
Finance Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya says that the temporary import restrictions imposed on other import goods except vehicles have been removed. The minister stated that it is in operation from today. The minister also stated that a relevant gazette was also issued. The minister stated that this step was taken with the aim of further expanding the economy. In more local news, the Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation, Nimal Siripala de Silva, announced that the passenger ferry service connecting India's Nagapattinam and Sri Lanka's Kankasanture, which experienced a delay of almost 6 months due to various reasons, would commence operations from the 12th of October.
I am happy to announce that the Indian government has informed me that the Indian Shipping Corporation has made all arrangements to run a ferry service between Nagapattinam and our KK's harbour. The trial run was done yesterday, so we are happy that the connectivity between India and Sri Lanka has been brought more closer by this venture. I have asked the Indian government also to permit the private sector entrepreneurs who are willing to run this ferry service between these two ports to be accommodated, and they have assured me that they will be calling for an expression of interest from the interested private sector companies for running of this service, and that will bring more and more vessels to KK's harbour. The Port Authority of Sri Lanka has spent more than 600 million to establish the Kankasanture port, and we are happy that as a result of that we have been able to commence this venture. And in the same time we have an ambitious program to have a ferry service between Dhanushkodi port and Thalemanna, which the groundwork has been attended to, and our ferry at the Thalemanna port is dilapidated, so we have allocated another 600 million rupees from the capital funds of the SLPA, Sri Lanka Port Authority, to repair that. Once that is done, we will be able to have another ferry service between ferry as well as ship service from Dhanushkodi to Thalemanna, which will bring more connectivity between the two countries and which will facilitate tourism as well as transport of goods. I am thankful to the Government of India for commencing this venture, and we will be looking forward for more and more Indian tourists to come into Sri Lanka, and in the same time the people of Sri Lanka to use this facility and visit India.
A special guard of honour was held today at the Police Special Task Force headquarters in honour of the promotion of Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police Varuna Jayasundara.
Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police, Attorney Varuna Jayasundara, who joined the Sri Lanka Police as an Assistant Superintendent of Police in 2001 after being appointed as the Commander of the Special Task Force, has provided unique leadership to the force to protect peace and democracy in the country, combat the international drug network and organized crime. His excellent leadership was given huge tasks such as protection of natural resources for future generations, arrest of the largest number of illegal firearms, etc. He is the youngest Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police in Sri Lanka.
The 2023 annual meeting of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund got underway in Morocco. News First's Zulfiq Farzan is currently in Morocco covering the entire program, and he filed this report.
The theme for the 2023 annual meeting of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund will be Global Action, Global Impact. Keystones of the annual meetings are the plenary session, the Development Committee and the International Monetary and Financial Committee meetings. Other featured events include regional briefings, press conferences and fora focused on international development, the global economy and financial markets.
Well, the 2023 annual meeting of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank opened here in Marrakesh, Morocco, with more than 15,000 participants representing 150 plus countries here to discuss key issues including policy, fiscal policy, debt restructuring and climate change among others. Now, the Moroccan authorities are informed that a force of more than 6,500 personnel have been deployed across this entire area to cover the entire campus that is being used for the annual meeting here in Marrakesh, Morocco. Tomorrow is going to be a very important day for Sri Lanka at the annual meeting because the global economic outlook is to be unveiled, and we are being told that there are key points in this outlook that relate to Sri Lanka. Representing the only Sri Lankan media organization here in Marrakesh, Morocco at the IMF World Bank annual meeting, Amzul Tarzan for News Trust.
The Columbo Air Symposium 2023, an annual international academic forum organized by the Sri Lanka Air Force, was held today after a 3-year hiatus.
Intellectuals, diplomats, military leaders, policymakers and technological experts attended the first of the 2-day conference. The symposium delved into the realms of defense and security, exploring the multifaceted dimensions of air power, interaction and juxtaposition. The Columbo Air Symposium 2023, which is being held under the leadership of the Commander of the Sri Lanka Air Force, Air Marshal Udeni Rajapaksha, was held under the theme Fostering Shared Air Interests in the IOR, Geopolitical Cooperation, Complexities and Compulsions. The role of air power within developing nations, especially within the challenging context of the geopolitical landscape, and assesses its far-reaching impacts on regional and global dynamics, was a topic of discussion at the symposium. Chief of Staff and National Security Advisor to the President Sagala Ratnayaka was the chief guest, while Professor Adam Leong-Kok-Wei, a prominent figure in the field of strategic studies and the director of the Center for Defense and International Security Studies at the National Defense University of Malaysia, delivered the keynote address. Ambassadors, high commissioners and foreign delegates attending from over 40 countries including the United Kingdom, United States of America, Canada, India, China and more attended this year's Columbo Air Symposium.
Today marks the 32nd day of the second phase of the LOLC Vavia program. Now today's program is being carried out in the Kalkuda Education Zone in the Batiklo district.
Swarthy initiative, students of schools with less than 100 students are gifted school books and stationery. Students of the Naripuladama Nadeshwara College, Ragam Saraswati College, Munnaikadu Sarada College, Kannankuda Kannaki College, Mandapatandi State Tamil College and Paddipalai State Tamil College were gifted school books and stationery items this morning. School books and stationery items were also gifted to students at the Batiklo West Regional Education Office and at the Batiklo Regional Education Office. The LOLC Vavia program will continue to create a bright future for the country's student population.
A retired inspector of police was shot dead this evening in the Devenigoda area in Rakkama. The victim has been identified as Dadi Munipalendra, who had served as the OIC of several police stations and also as the OIC of the Crimes Division in the Alpitia area. The retired officer's elder brother has also been wounded in the shooting. The attack had taken place when the officer had been returning home following a court appearance. He had also served at the OIC of crimes at the Ambalangoda and Mitiakoda police stations. Take a look at sports news. Cricket fans can watch all the action of the ICC Cricket World Cup via the MTV MBC networks, and yet another match of the 2023 ICC Cricket World Cup was held earlier today, and that match was between New Zealand and the Netherlands. Batting first, New Zealand scored an impressive 322 runs for the loss of only 7 wickets, and they managed to beat the Netherlands, who were bundled out for only 223 runs in 46.3 overs, and with that New Zealand won the match by 99 runs. And with that, we wrap up primetime news for tonight. For the News First team, I'm Jayamara Nayaka.
And I'm Naveksha Gunasekar. For all these stories and much more, visit our website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. Thank you.
Good night.